They stood on the front lines of liberty, but were left out of the story. They bled for a flag that didn't wave for them, forgotten in textbooks, erased from monuments. But their fight was the first true test of American freedom. And now, their voices rise. This is untold history, the Black Patriots who fought for America.
Stay with us until the end. There's a special 4th of July tribute waiting for you, plus an exclusive discount code. Wear their story. Remember their fight. Now, let's begin.
Prologue: A nation built on silence.
They fought for a country that did not see them as equals. They stood in muddy fields, marched with frost-bitten feet, and died beneath a flag that had promised liberty for others. Their names were not written in marble, their stories not taught in schools, their sacrifices not honored on the 4th of July. And yet, they were there. From the first blood spilled in Boston to the final victory at Yorktown, in a war that claimed freedom as its cause, thousands of black men risked everything for a dream they could not yet share. Some were free, most were not. They were promised liberty and often returned to chains. Their enemies wore red, but their struggle was also with the men in blue. Today, we remember them, not out of guilt, not out of pity, but because a nation built on silence must first learn to listen. This is not just black history, this is American history. And this is the untold story of the Black Patriots who fought for America. Let us begin where the Revolution truly started, with the first man to fall.
Chapter 1: Crispus Attucks, the first to fall.
March 5th, 1770. A cold evening in colonial Boston. The tension between British soldiers and the townspeople has reached a breaking point. Shouts echo through the streets, and then a gunshot. When the smoke cleared, 5 men lay dead or dying. And the first among them was a man named Crispus Attucks. Who was he? A dock worker, a sailor, a runaway slave of African and Native American descent. In life, he was a man with no rights, no property, no protection. In death, he became a symbol. Patriots called it a massacre, and Attucks became the first martyr of the American Revolution. His name was spoken with reverence by John Adams. His image appeared in paintings and engravings. And yet, over time, he was quietly removed from the official narrative. History remembered Paul Revere's ride, Samuel Adams' speeches, but not the black man who died so they could speak. Why was Crispus Attucks forgotten? Some feared what he represented, that the American fight for liberty began with a man who had never known it. Others believed he was too poor, too uneducated, too inconvenient, not a founding father, just a casualty. But make no mistake, Attucks was not a bystander. He stood in front of the crowd, defiant. He was the first to fall, not by accident, but by choice. His death lit a fire, and though his name faded from textbooks, it never faded from the memory of those who came after. Remember whose blood hit the cobblestones first. Let us now follow the soldiers who marched in Attucks's shadow.
Chapter 2. Black Soldiers in Washington's Army. In 1775, George Washington took command of the Continental Army. But when he looked across the ranks, he saw a dilemma. Black men, free and enslaved, had already begun to enlist. The British had offered freedom to any enslaved person who joined their cause. In response, the revolutionaries hesitated. Liberty, but for whom? At first, Washington resisted. He barred enslaved men from joining, but the realities of war and pressure from the northern colonies soon forced his hand. By 1776, black soldiers marched, fought, and bled in nearly every major battle of the war. Some served for pay, others for a chance at freedom, all of them for a cause larger than themselves. In Rhode Island, an entire regiment of black soldiers was formed, the 1st Rhode Island, one of the few integrated units of its time. They held the line at Newport, braved the front at Yorktown. Historians later called them the bravest of the brave. But few know their names. Historians estimate over 5,000 black men served in the Continental Army, some as soldiers, others as drummers, spies, or laborers. They were part of the Revolution, but they would never fully be part of the nation. The promises were clear: serve and be free. But after the war, many were returned to their former owners. Some were sold across state lines, others simply disappeared from the records, like they had never existed. George Washington, the man who led them, personally enslaved more than 100 people during his lifetime. Even as he fought for freedom, he upheld the system that denied it. And yet, black soldiers returned home with heads held high. They had fought for an idea, even if that idea had not yet fought for them. Their service posed a question, one America has struggled to answer ever since. Can a nation built on freedom survive while denying it to so many? Next, we follow the quiet footsteps of a man who won a war, not with a sword, but with secrets. His name was James Armistead Lafayette. Chapter 3. James Armistead, Spy and Savior. He had no uniform, no musket, no statue in the town square, but without him, the war might have ended very differently. James Armistead, born into slavery in Virginia, denied an education, denied a future, and yet he would infiltrate the British High Command and become the secret weapon of the American Revolution. In 1781, Armistead volunteered to assist the Continental Army. With his owner's permission, he was placed under the command of the Marquis de Lafayette. His mission? To go behind enemy lines, not as a soldier, but as a servant. Invisible, overlooked, trusted. Armistead posed as a runaway slave. He gained access to the camps of Benedict Arnold, and later General Cornwallis himself. The British mistook him for a Loyalist. He served food, cleaned tables, and listened. Maps, orders, numbers, timetables. Every night he slipped away and reported to Lafayette. He became a double agent, feeding the enemy false information while delivering the real truth to the Americans. His intelligence was crucial. It helped Lafayette trap Cornwallis at Yorktown. It set the stage for Washington's final victory. And yet, when the guns fell silent, Armistead returned not as a hero, but as a slave. The laws of Virginia were clear. Only soldiers were eligible for emancipation. Spies, servants, they were not counted. Lafayette intervened. He wrote to the Virginia legislature, spoke of Armistead's courage, his patriotism. And thanks to that effort, James Armistead finally received his freedom. In gratitude, he took a new name, James Armistead Lafayette. He lived out his life as a free man, a farmer, a husband, a father. History forgot him for over a century, but Lafayette never did. Two revolutions, American and French, forever linked by the bond between a general and a spy. In the next chapter, the war is over, but the promises made to black patriots are about to be broken. Chapter 4. Broken Promises.
The war was over, the flag had been raised, and America was free. But not everyone. For the black patriots who had fought, spied, marched, and died, a different reality waited. The promises had been clear: serve, and you will earn your freedom. But freedom, it turned out, was a fragile thing. Many enslaved men were returned to their former owners. Some were sold again, this time farther south to harsher lands. Others simply disappeared into silence. In the North, a few states honored the promise. They passed laws to grant freedom, but it was slow, uneven, and incomplete. In the South, those promises vanished entirely. Legislatures reversed emancipation, claims were denied, contracts ignored. Some slaveholders sued to take back black veterans, men who had risked their lives for independence. Their reward? Shackles. For the new nation, liberty was a narrow road, and black patriots were pushed off it. Even those who had fought for the British seeking the same freedom were betrayed. At war's end, many were abandoned. Some fled to British ships bound for Nova Scotia, Canada, Sierra Leone, places where the words freedom and black could exist in the same sentence. America had declared that all men are created equal, but slavery continued to grow. The Constitution protected it, the economy fed on it, and the myth of equality hardened into law. The same men who had signed the Declaration enslaved hundreds: Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Madison. They spoke of freedom, but they lived by chains. The Revolution was over, but the contradiction at its heart had just begun. In our next chapter, we ask, what happens to a legacy buried by silence? Can a nation remember what it chose to forget?
Chapter 5. Legacy. Remembering the Forgotten. They were there, at Bunker Hill, at Saratoga, at Yorktown. But when the monuments were raised, their names were not carved into stone. For over a century, the story of the Black Patriots was erased. Not denied outright, just quietly left out. No chapters in school books, no portraits in museums, no speeches on the 4th of July. But memory has a way of returning. In the 20th century, historians, many of them black, began to uncover the truth. They found names, letters, pension records, battle rosters. The silence began to break. In Boston, a monument to Crispus Attucks now stands. In Virginia, James Armistead is remembered with honor. In some states, school children now learn that freedom was never fought for by one race alone. Slowly, the Black Patriots are finding their way back into the story. Their legacy is not just one of struggle, but of unmatched courage. They believed in a freedom they could not yet touch. They gave their loyalty to a nation that had never offered them equality, and in doing so, they helped define what America might one day become. This is not a separate history. This is American history. And remembering them is not just about the past. It is about the future we choose to build. But before we close this chapter, one final question remains. What does it mean to fight for a dream when that dream was never meant for you? What we choose to remember. History is not just what happened. It's what we choose to remember. We remember the fireworks, the speeches, the signatures on parchment. But what if we remembered the hands that held the musket, the feet that marched barefoot for a freedom they couldn't yet claim, the voices that were never allowed to speak? The Black Patriots of the American Revolution were not symbols. They were people. They hoped. They risked. They believed. And though the nation forgot them, today you did not. So now I ask you, what does it mean to fight for a dream when that dream was never meant for you? And what kind of country do we become if we never ask that question? Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story moved you, taught you something new, or made you reflect, then please consider supporting Timeless Tales. Tap subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click the little back bell so you'll never miss another untold story. We post new long-form videos every Saturday, and your click helps these forgotten voices reach new ears. And this week only, we're offering a special Independence Day discount on our new Black Patriots collection in the Timeless Tales merch shop. Use code FREEDOM10 at checkout for 10% off all designs, including our limited edition shirts honoring Crispus Attucks and James Armistead. Timeless-tales.creator-spring.com. Wear their story, carry their legacy. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and never stop asking who history chooses to remember and who
it forgets.